Hi, I'm Peter P.T. Townend. Not only am I the first world surfing champ, but I love this sport right here in Huntington Beach. We're going to celebrate the sport, its culture, lifestyle, and the amazing surfers that came before and after me that hit the waves around the world, including here in Surf City. We're going to share the PT collection with you on Surf Scene.
Hi, I'm Peter P.T. Townend, and we got a great show for you tonight on Surf Scene. I don't even know where to start with this guy. I've been mates of his for near 40 years, and his roots are right here in Huntington Beach, and he graces both sides of the sidewalk in the Walk of Fame and the Hall of Fame, and it's great to have you on the show, Herbie.
Well, thanks for having me, PT.
I'm going to start with Huntington Beach. So tell me what it was like being a teenager growing up in Huntington Beach and surfing around here, because you started off with the Vardaman surf team.
Well, I started off at Greek.
With Greek, that's right.
Yeah, when I was like 13, but before that, you'd come down to the pier and it was like a local type deal. But you just had to hang out and pay your dues, you know, you're a little grimy, you know, you got picked on or whatever, and Huntington Beach was like known for that. But I think most surf spots are known for that. They always pick on the little guys, and then the little guys grow up, you know. But yeah, hanging out here, you know, watching all the best surfers come to Huntington, you know, from all over the world in the surf contests, you know, the US Open. And that was fantastic because you got to see all the different styles. You got to see the Hawaiians, how they did it. And you got to meet them. And if you just hung out, you got to meet everybody and go surfing. And, you know, pretty soon I was surfing with those guys.
And pretty soon you were on a plane and you were in Hawaii.
That was, yeah, that was it, man. That was my goal, to get to Sunset Beach, yes.
So you went to Sunset Beach in Hawaii when you were like a teenager. And,
yeah, I made it there when I was like 16 and 65.
Right, and then McGilvery featured you in his Free and Easy film, right? And there's some unbelievable footage which we're going to roll. There's of you at Sunset and Honolulu. Mustn't have been anyone at Honolulu in those days.
There was about 8 surfers on the whole island and 1 stoplight in Wailuku. And that's where my draft board is. But I hung out and went surfing a lot. That's all I wanted to do was surf.
And then you met Debbie somewhere around there, and you guys ended up on the North Shore, right?
Yeah, I met Debbie at Makaha in the 65 surf contest, and her sister was world champion and Makaha surf champion, and her dad was a judge. But, you know, we were kids, and Joyce and I were on the same surf team, and I was looking for my surfboard that Corky left me with Joyce, and so I had to find Joyce to get it, and I met Debbie. So
then you get married, you're on the North Shore, you're hanging around, you were still there when I got there in the early 70s. But I got one little side note that most people don't know. So you hook up with Jerry Lopez and Fat Paul, and you guys get a hold of the Pipe House. How did that all come about?
Well, Fat Paul needed help, and so he hadn't paid his taxes or anything, so he was looking around for somebody to help him, and he got Jerry and a contractor to build this house. First, they subdivided the lot and sold the back, and then they had enough money to build the front house, and I told them I wasn't getting involved until it's over and done with. And so they built it, and I got in there, and it was a sweet deal and a great 20-year run for, you know, hanging out the pipeline. Before that, I had a house down at Pupukea, so I'd look right into the tube, and that's where Christian was born, right there.
So you hung around on and off through the 70s, but then you came home to California, and the thrill is back.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Herbie Fletcher, and I just got out of the water to tell you the thrill is back. So check it out.
And you were really responsible in a lot of ways for the re-emergence of going back to longboards, but modern longboards, not the old school. This was the new version.
Well, a little story is that you know, when I was a teenager, I worked for Herbie and learned how to shape from Phil Edwards. And then when we were in Hawaii, I was living with Gary Chapman, and Brewer was shaping our boards, and Hinson was shaping our boards. And then we made the minigun so we could surf backdoor and off the wall, which we lived right off the wall. It's all these perfect rights coming down the beach, which older guys didn't see because they'd go down to Sunset because Pipeline looked like a little mushy 4-foot wave. We're really inventive at that time. And so when I came back to California, I could never find any surf, really, comparably to backdoor and off the wall. It was just like mostly mushy unless there was a major swell. And I always had a longboard in my quiver, you know, even on the North Shore in the summertime, surfing Rocky Point and stuff. And so I was over here and I'd pull out my longboard and ride it and have a good time. And then I noticed that all the guys that went away to college or had families, they were coming back with their families and they couldn't surf on a shortboard. And so I started making longboards out of Dana Point and had a surf shop and had a lot of fun doing it. And the thrill is back.
The thrill is back. So right around all of that time too, so you came up with Astrodeck, and I see you have a sample over here on the couch here.
Yeah.
And that started the whole Astrodeck empire. There were so many things that came out from that.
Well, I was really excited since I made surfboards, you know, and designs and helped do a lot of things and worked with all these great designers and shapers. And so Astrodeck here is, like you can see where the holes are in between each little square, so you can get down in between the squares and really get some traction. And it has a kicktail at 45 to vert, so you can catch the vert part. It's like a kicktail sort of on a skateboard, you know, that's really where it came from. But the kids nowadays use it like, you know, they're just doing unbelievable tricks. And I didn't know it would go this far, but you know, with Christian and Nathan going off and doing their things, they're like experimental kids, you know, and so I'd just play with them and all their friends, and you know how surfing keeps changing.
Oh yeah.
And
well, you had the famous cover that was on Surfer magazine, right, which changed the game from the point of view of everyone now. Went, wow, look at that, and look how fast he's going, and he's up Malaya. These things must work.
Yeah, they laughed at me when I showed up with that, especially when I told them I was going to hang 10 and do a 360 on the nose. They started rolling on the grass. I think it was Buttons and Al at the time. Maybe Michael Ho was there.
So again, during that period, all of a sudden you started to get into making films, and the Wave Warriors franchise was born.
Yeah, the film part of it, you know, at the house at Pipeline, and I'd take the pads over there and put them on everybody's board, you know, and test it out because the whole group was a test pilot. So I got enough money for marketing to make a film, and I was making a video just on how to apply Astrodeck and stuff, but I had so much extra footage that I decided to make Wave Warriors, the videos, and get them out there so kids could watch the best surfers and the best surf to hardcore rock and roll, and just, you know, before they'd paddle out, because before that you went to surf movies and, you know, at nighttime and you'd be all stoked and you get up and the surf's flat. This way you could just plug in the video, because video was coming along with MTV and all that stuff, and the kids would, I couldn't believe it that they'd burn it out on their best sections, you know. But Jack's down here on the corner, they were selling them, and I could, you know, they didn't even know what to do with them. I told them, put them by the cash register, they'll go, and they went.
So in that same window of time, though, when you've come back and the thrill is back, we had a re-emergence of competitive longboard surfing here too, because you helped put together the Charthouse longboard team, and we had this most amazing team with Skip Fry and Jay Riddle and yourself and the Paskowitzes, and there was a whole resurgence of longboard competition.
Yeah, we got to travel all over.
We had those cards, remember, for the 50% off at the Charthouse, remember?
Oh, loved them. Traveling all over, and we got a budget to eat, so, you know, it was a team. Everybody was rooting for everybody.
And in that same window, you were just a marketing genius. You had trading cards, you had comic books, you were doing all sorts of things that built the Astrodeck name.
It was just fun, you know. I love, you know, because you read the back of the card and you have a little trivia question, you know. It's pretty fun.
You started to get back into Hawaii again, and one of the things that was amazing to me, you were a pioneer of using a jet ski in big waves in Hawaii. You were the first guy that I can remember that all of a sudden was in the lineup with a jet ski, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember you towing Martin Potter into some waves early on.
He was the first one to tow in big waves. And I used to ask Laird and Buzzy and all those guys to do it outside logs, you know, this bigger than third reef pipe, you know, when logs breaks. And nobody would go with me. I go, well, I just rode 100 waves. Come on, let's go. And they wouldn't do it. But finally, it was breaking on second reef and capping on the third reef at Pipeline. And Potts, I just threw him the rope and he just grabbed it and went for it because the surf was all over the place, you know, and it was hard to get to. And anyway, Potts did it, Tom Carroll did it, and Kong did it. 3 of them. And then Mike Stewart wanted me to tow him, and I respect Mike because he's just the ultimate tube rider. But I didn't have enough energy to tow him.
So yourself, though, we had you on Wave Watch back in the old TV show of the 80s, and we had this great conversation about you out on your jet ski at Waimea, and we're going to go take a look at that now, and then we'll come back.
One of the most incredible things I've ever seen is there's a wave of you at Waimea Bay. There's actually a couple of waves, but there's this one wave where you take off outside and you get down to the bottom, and all of a sudden you start to hit that turbulent section in the inside, and all of a sudden you're getting bounced all over the place, you're hanging off the handlebars and you disappear. What was that like? That must have been incredible.
Well, it was pretty frightening, actually. I'd like to just remember that. I don't want to go through one of those again. It was, I was hitting bumps and I disappeared in the soup and I couldn't see what was going on, you know, and I was going from side to side and I was just holding on and turning on the gas, and finally I caught the jet, and I just blasted out of there right underneath the hook.
You know, right at the end of that wave on the video, you get off, you drive your jet ski straight up the beach at Waimea, and then you step off, and it's like you're real tentative about your steps. Were you trying to feel that you were back on the earth again?
Well, I was pretty fatigued, you know, just thankful that I was back on the earth instead of under the water somewhere, because a wave that size, it can hold you down for a good long time, and I don't think I could handle it.
You know, that particular ride, would you say that was the equivalent to any of the great surfing rides you've ever had?
Well, I think that was one of the greatest ones, because that was the biggest wave I've ever seen, you know, from inside like that, and it closed out Waimea Bay, which not too many people have ridden a wave that big.
Wow, Herbie, hanging on for dear life there, mate, at Waimea. Can you remember that again? Like, it was a pretty good description right there. You were hanging on for dear life, as you said.
I had a grip on that handlebars, man, with full throttle, and it didn't matter if the jet ski blew up or not because it was getting air, you know, and when it get air, it just whined out, and you know, I almost got thrown out over the falls with the whole thing because it was a closeout wave, and the jet ski dropped out below me, and I was just hanging on the handlebars upside down, and the jet caught, and it just sucked the water through the impeller and the pump, and I just shot out underneath the white water, and I just couldn't believe it.
So let's talk a little family. You have a couple of boys that have become pretty famous in their own right.
Yeah.
And both of us have lived raising teenagers. We know what that's like, right?
Got it.
But they've both made it through and been successful in their surfing careers, and still to this day are being successful.
Yeah, they're still going. Nathan just won the Vans Big Air contest with Stab Magazine down in Indonesia somewhere. And Christian's still surfing all over the place. And Nathan's living in Hawaii, and he's raising 2 kids to surf and to skate, and they're radical little guys, Laser and Jetson. In fact, he's coming out with a new show called The Laser and Jetson Show, so you can see that on YouTube. And
you and DB are still married 50 years, right?
Over 52 years. And our other grandson, Grayson's flying and skating and skateboarding, you know, just
How
going
did she
on.
put up with you for all this time, man?
Oh, yeah. She's great. She's fantastic.
Well, yeah, so you showed me this pretty incredible book here that she put together just came out last year, just right around COVID, right?
Right around COVID, it sort of shut it down, but you can get it on Amazon.
We can get everything on Amazon
So
these
it's
days.
a Fletcher Lifetime at Surf, and it's about the family with people adding stuff like Mike D from the Beastie Boys and Jerry Lopez opening up. He's known as Forever, and just a few people that that know us.
So you live right there at Cotton's.
I live at Cotton's Point and surf.
And I see
the
you
trestles.
with your bike, with your board on the side every now and again, because my son's father-in-law lives just up the street from you, and it's good you're still in the water. But you said something to me not a couple of years ago. It's not about ripping anymore. It's about still paddling out.
You got to get up and paddle out, boy, and that's the hardest. It's the stoke.
What about popping up, as Rabbit says? Popping up.
I still got that.
You still got that?
But it's the big board, so I still
struggle
got
with the popping up, even with the big board.
Oh gosh, yeah.
This doesn't help though, a little extra weight doesn't help for the pop up.
I practice and I do yoga and stretching and calisthenics and still cross train a little bit so I can do that.
So one final thing before we're going to end with taking a look at some side slip boogie, but you also have developed a pretty great reputation as an artist with your broken surfboards installations, and you've had a couple of great art shows around the country. I know you would collect all the broken boards on the North Shore, and you did those great where you put them all together. And,
the rectangles.
The rectangles.
Yeah.
And because I remember when we had Surfing Magazine in your building, in the Hoffman building, you'd be out the back putting all that together for these installations.
I'm still doing it.
Still doing them?
It's great. There's one down here at Pacific Sands in Huntington. It's a pretty big one. But in about, I don't know, I think it was around 93, 95, I'm up in the third floor at the Pipe House that Lopez and I own, and I'm looking over and I see it was a major swell. And there's like 20 or 30 boards broken, all situated down there, stacked up against the wall, and I go, wow, that's great. That would look good on a wall, a big wall, like at a hotel or a big building, because I was a good distance away and I could see it, and so that was the start of it. And, I've been painting a lot.
To paint on the surfboards. You used to do all the painting on those boards.
Painting and just making surfboards, is art. Sculpting.
Well, Herbie, it's great to have you on Surf Scene, mate, and we could go on all day.
Oh, yeah. Gotta keep going.
We could do a couple of episodes, right? But we're going to end this episode. We're going to go to a film Herbie made back in the Thriller's back called Side Slip Boogie.
Side Slip Boogie.
Everybody call me Little Side Slipper Joe. I do a side slip boogie. I do a side slip boogie. I do a side slip boogie, baby, all day long.
There's more of that great stuff to come, but I'm going surfing right now. There's waves out here.